Sixer Nation, what up? Welcome on into Philly Take with RB. You know what to do. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel because we bring the content to you 24/7. Shout out to everybody who saw my Caleb Martin video. I had literally just touched down off a plane, recorded it. Like I said, no time wasted. We're bringing it right to you. But I actually just got home and I'm like, man, I need to get on here and get some things off my chest. I was trying to stay away. It was nice hitting the reset button a little bit, just refreshing the mind, but the grind is only getting started and so much has happened over the last couple days. So this episode may be longer than usual, but the real ones will stay tapped in. Thank you all for constantly supporting the show. And before we dive into all the news, a special announcement in case you didn't see it yet. I actually will be in Las Vegas this Friday attending NBA Summer League. I'm going to get to cover the Sixers, make as much content as I can. Shout out to my guy, Sean Bernard. Many of you know him here on the channel as well. He has been on multiple times. He will actually be joining me. So we're going to do, joint content together. We're going to do live streams, videos, etc. right from, where they're playing at back at the hotel. So be sure to stay tapped in, hit the notification bell. None of this will be possible without you. And I appreciate you all. Hope to see you tapped into all the videos and live streams. And I can't wait to see what it's about. This Friday, I will be there, NBA Summer League, and we're going to give you a behind-the-scenes look at everything. So be sure to stay tapped in. But all right, man, let's talk about the chaos these last 3-4 days. Because, we go away, right? Sixers signed Caleb Martin. Boom. But that was just the tip of the iceberg, okay? The Sixers end up waiving Paul Reed, as we talked about. By the way, Caleb Martin, as we, really didn't know the other day, because, again, I didn't look at the reports. I didn't wait. I just recorded. It was actually a 4-year deal. I saw people saying that in the comments. I think that's a really value deal for the Sixers. That's very beneficial. I mean, that's a bargain for Caleb Martin. He wanted 15 per year, ended up taking less, and the Sixers get their final piece. Now, again, they still need rebounding. They need a guy in that starting five who is really like a traditional power forward, who hopefully can help take pressure off Joel Embiid's shoulders. But we'll have to talk about that more as we go forward. But Paul Reed was claimed off of waivers by the Detroit Pistons. Now, I am happy for Paul Reed. This actually guarantees the final 2 years of his deal. I'm surprised the Pistons didn't let him just clear waivers and then sign him outright for maybe a year. But I am happy for Paul Reed. As you all may know or may not know, I did a podcast with Paul earlier this year. Unfortunately, due to things out of my hands, it had to stop a little bit earlier than we wanted to, of course. But shout out to Paul. I'm happy he's getting his money. He's a great guy. Still talk to him, getting to know him, things like that. Really good person. So happy that he'll get to continue his career. Now it's Paul Reed and Tobias Harris on the Detroit Pistons. Maybe they'll be the next MJ and Pippen. Who knows? But anyway, speaking of which, Tobias Harris, I saw people talking about this. It was trending. Didn't even take the time to thank the Philadelphia 76ers in his goodbye post, and he welcomed himself into Detroit, where he used to play earlier in his career. Look, good luck, Tobias. You got your money, do your thing. Didn't even thank Philly for the last 5 years. Definitely interesting. Feels like there's a salty taste there, but oh well, it's over with. Once the Sixers play the Pistons this year, I know a lot of people are going to be tuning in to that game. But okay, let's talk about what happened on Monday, I believe it was. I was sitting up there on a beach and I see Paul George drop his new podcast episode. And Paul George, is great, obviously on the floor, but off the floor has, a lot of talent, and he's trying to get into that broadcasting field, be one of those players that does the podcasting and the TV and stuff like that. But it's great for us Sixer fans because even during the year, we will get to hear some of the behind-the-scenes stuff, and I think it's really cool that we'll get that perspective. But Paul George was spilling the tea, man. He let it go in this episode. I did not get to listen to the whole thing, but I saw a lot of the clips and heard some of it, and he started off by talking about the Clippers, who pretty much insulted the heck out of him. Like, they lowballed the heck out of PG. First, they tried to get him on 2 years, $60 million. Then he wanted the same contract with Kawhi, which we talked about before. And when I had Dime Dropper on, right, they wanted to kind of align those two contracts. They said no to that. Then he wanted a 3-year, $150 million deal, but he wanted a no trade clause. Meanwhile, other teams are pouring in with interest. Clippers still were reluctant to do that. And then at the end, he wanted 4 years, $220 million. Now, keep in mind, he ended up signing a 4-year max, no problem at all, from the 76ers, and we'll get into that more. But it seemed from the clips and the things I heard that, yes, he did want to stay in LA. And then people were commenting about that, saying, well, he doesn't care about Philly. He just took the money. Well, maybe he wanted to stay in LA because his family was there and he grew up there and he's comfortable. But at the end of the day, the financials didn't work out and the Clippers weren't willing to go the extra mile, which doesn't make sense because they just opened up, their new stadium. And it's like, okay, you want to bring business in, but you don't want to pay the guy who's been here. And you bring back Harden and Kawhi's there, but, there's issues everywhere and they just let Paul George go. So at the end of the day, he was insulted. That's pretty much how it went. He was upset. He wanted to stay there. It didn't work out. Guess what? That's how business works sometimes. Now, another thing came out as well. I think I have the clip up here where he was saying that he actually almost was traded to the Golden State Warriors. I think we'll pull it up, but yeah, he thought he was going to the Golden State Warriors, and he actually would have liked that as well, staying on the West Coast, playing with Curry and Draymond, but that also fell through. So people were saying, well, he didn't care about Philly. He wanted Golden State. He wanted LA. Or maybe at the end of the day, Philly just worked out best for him. He said a lot of good things in that episode about Philly. He said the fit with Maxey and Embiid was probably his favorite thing, and he's excited. And the fans, there were Philadelphia favorites and athletes, giving him tribute videos. Everybody seems locked in with this Sixers team. The vibes are ecstatic right now, and it seems like he's content on his decision. And I mean, you have to be, right, to come all the way across the country this late in your career to make that type of move. Sure, you get an extra year, you get an extra, $50 million, but, he's trying to win. I really believe he's bought in and trying to win, and I'm excited to see what he looks like with Maxey and Embiid. Now, he said this in an interview a couple days ago as well. I'm looking forward to the fans. I know the fans are very passionate about their sports. You want to play for that and be a part of that. And that is what he is looking forward to most about Philly. And somebody asked him, why was Philly the best fit? And he said, quote, Joel Embiid is one of, if not the best bigs in the league. And Tyrese Maxey is one of the hottest up and coming stars. So a lot of praise for these guys. There was also an interview where Joel Embiid pretty much said, PG's the perfect fit for us. He's what we need. And we'll actually talk about that now. Let's go ahead and transition to it. So Joel Embiid getting ready to put on a showcase here with the Olympic team. He's finally getting to play in them, and he's on Team USA, obviously. They have their scrimmage tonight. So we've been getting all these little clips, and just like in the NBA, nobody can guard this guy. They're double teaming Embiid. He is simply unguardable, and I think he's going to put on a showcase and really just display his skills to the rest of the world if they may not know already, because Joel Embiid's incredible. But here's the little interview that came out from Tim Bontemps, and he talked about Paul George going to the Sixers, and I thought it was interesting. He was transparent here. He was honest, which I like about Embiid. He says, I'd be lying to say that the patience was not tested. He's talking about Daryl Morey's cap space plan, right? They keep preaching to this guy. We're going to get this guy, that guy, and then, we're waiting. Last summer, we do nothing. And this year's like a bridge the gap year. And, a guy that turns 30, he's in his prime trying to win MVPs, trying to get to a championship, can't even get past the second round yet. And, I agree. Like, the patience should be tested. Like, what are you going to do as an organization to prove to me that, yes, this is go time? Like, this is the time we cash in. And like I said a couple of days ago on Twitter, if you're not following me on there, I said on YouTube as well, but like, Daryl Morey's on an absolute heater. He is cooking. It is finally going all in. They have gotten most of the pieces that they have wanted to land. So I'm really happy about that. And Joel Embiid says the fit, it looks amazing. You need to have willing shooters. That's a fact. And guys that are not afraid to pull the trigger. That's a fact, right? All they've done is surround him in prior years with the wrong types of fits, right? Last year it looked a bit better, especially after you pick up a couple of those pieces from the Harden trade. But it just never really has made a lot of sense. Now you bring a guy in who can also take the ball out of your hands when you need him to, and he can hit threes at a high clip. That's what you need around Maxey and Embiid. We've said it forever, and I'm excited to see what Paul George can do fit-wise with this team. So Joel Embiid seems happy. He recruited the guy on national television, and the vibes are high right now. But let's talk about some of the other people as well, because Kelly Oubre had probably my favorite quote of the week so far that I just saw when I got back. He says that he chose to return to the Sixers, pretty much took a pay cut, which we had talked about before, right? He fit right into that room exception, allowed them to bring him back, even though he was going to get that interest, right, of 11, 12, 13, 14 million a year. He says that, quote, he fell in love with the game of basketball in Philadelphia, and his goal is to sign a long-term deal with the Sixers. Now, after the season, he can end up opting out. He can go back to free agency. But this is a guy who genuinely loves the vibe, the aura of Philadelphia. He loves it. He fits in. We know that. He's got the swagger. Every time he hits a bucket, right, he's pointing to the crowd. We love this guy. We wanted him back. He's a high energy, high vibes type of guy, and he produced way above his pay grade last year. He deserved a pay raise, and he still took a pay cut, and this is a guy that Philadelphia will love. And the fact that he fell in love with the game here in just 1 year shows you all you need to know. Like, that is incredible. Another guy who was swayed to come back, Andre Drummond, right? Mission accomplished. He got his cheesesteak. He wanted a Philly cheesesteak. That's how he announced his arrival back here in Philadelphia, and he gets the cheesesteak. Like, some guys just know how to integrate themselves into this city, and Andre Drummond is definitely one of them. I'm excited to see him back here. I keep saying the Sixers need a rebounder. Yes, they have Andre Drummond, but I'm more so talking about in the starting lineup next to Joel Embiid. But Andre Drummond on that second unit is going to solidify a lot of things. He's probably the best backup that Embiid has ever had, and I'm very glad to see him back. But what we didn't know that he admitted is that Joel Embiid was actually the determining factor in why he came back. Quote, we always stayed in constant communication. That relationship never died. The moment this was a possibility, Joel called me immediately. His excitement was truly the pushing factor in me coming here. So say what you want about Joel Embiid, right? Talk whatever you want to talk about him. He's got some recruiting power. And let's start to connect the dots. He's on the Olympic team. He's on Team USA. So maybe Joel's going to start talking, right, and try to persuade, other players and just get that vibe around him and this team that, guys actually want to come here. He was able to bring some of these players back. I'm glad that Drummond is here, and I'm glad he has a good relationship because he was very candid about how he used to hate Joel, right? They used to post these social media posts, and, they were not fans of each other. And then they learned to love each other, and then they, traded Drummond. Now he's back. So this is big for the 76ers. Now, I want to talk about the newest Sixer, and that is Caleb Martin, because if you don't know what happened, pretty much he ended up taking a pay cut. We'll look at that in a second. But Caleb Martin explains why he signed with Philly. Quote, being a part of that winning culture and something bigger than yourself is something that draws you in. You got to be willing to buy into that mindset. Nick Nurse preaches it. Kelly Oubre called him the best coach he's ever had. A lot of guys say a lot of good things about Nick Nurse. But pretty much Caleb Martin was offered $65 million for 5 years for the Miami Heat to retain him. And him and his agent said no. They thought he could get more. And he ends up settling for $8 million a year, $32 million over 4 years, which is a huge, huge bargain for the 76ers. This guy is not old. He's still very young. He's only been in the league for about 5-6 years. And yes, this was a miss by his agent. Of course, it reminds me of CJ Gardner-Johnson with the Eagles. But you know what happened, man? Sixers got a value contract. They finally, swooped in, got their guy, and picked him up. And I'm happy about it. Caleb Martin can put the ball on the floor. He can knock down shots. He's a little scrappy player, can defend decently well. I like Caleb Martin. I really do. He had some big games in that Heat finals run, and he's just a solid role player. Now, is he going to end up starting? How is that going to work? I don't know. They still need a power forward. They still need a rebounder, but there is a lot of time. The question is, do they have any, cap space left? That's going to be the issue. But at the end of the day, Caleb Martin is a great signing for the Sixers. Daryl Morey wanted him. They locked in. They got him. And I'm surprised they did it that quick. But Moneyball, baby. Daryl Morey, like I said, is absolutely cooking right now. So I'm excited to see what Caleb Martin can contribute for this team, whether it's in the starting lineup or off the bench. But really just the vibes around this team, are high right now. They have some good locker room guys. Now, let's shift gears a little bit, talk about the Summer League, because we missed a couple games. And like I said, I'll be in Summer League on Friday in Vegas, like the actual Summer League. This is like the warm-up kind of. And Ricky Council in the first game. They played 2 games. Ricky Council went absolutely stupid in the first game. 29 points, 8 rebounds, 5 for 10 from 3. Now, I didn't watch the game. I did watch the highlights, though, and I'm watching Ricky Council with these little behind-the-back step backs. Now, last night, the Sixers lost. They were not as efficient. They definitely felt like a summer league game. But the first game, Ricky Council, Jared McCain, Adam Bona, these guys look like actual quality players. And if they can be pieces, man, this bench is going to be just fine. Now you add Caleb Martin, who might come off the bench. Dude, this team, Drummond, like they have some pieces. Eric Gordon, Ricky Council, to have 19 points in the fourth quarter is incredible. Like, is this guy a hidden gem? Like, is he like an Isaiah Joe type and we just don't know it yet? They showed a picture of him working out the other day, and I'm like, wow, this dude put on some muscle mass, and here he is just knocking down shots like it's nothing. Maybe it's just a summer league game, but Ricky Council should absolutely be back in Philadelphia to start the year. He should not be on the Blue Coats. He should have his spot locked in already. He should have played in the damn playoffs, if we're being honest. But Ricky Council is off to a very good start, and I know he didn't play as well yesterday, but excited to see what this guy could do. He talked about the leadership role and really just, how he has been taking advantage of that. So shout out to Ricky. Jared McCain had 15, 6, 3, and 2 steals in his first game. Hit a couple back-to-back threes yesterday. This guy has a really nice stroke, and he just looks comfortable. Like Jared McCain, if he improves in that point guard mindset, that point guard role, him and Maxey could really be dangerous for years to come. I like Jared McCain. He looks really good so far, and he's not rattled or anything like that. One of the best players, I'd say, so far in NBA Summer League. But the surprise gem, all right, this is the guy where we're like, if he can be a piece, right? Because they signed Andre Drummond. He's going to be your backup center. But this guy right here, Adam Bona, I think he had like 5 blocks yesterday. I didn't see it exactly. I didn't really watch the whole games, but here's a play from the first game. Hold on, let's turn the volume down. First game, Jared McCain, Adam Bona, alley-oop. The athleticism is crazy. They said he had a lot of athleticism, high motor, high engine. Look at him flexing. Yo, I like this guy. I really do. Now, he needs to continue to work on, shooting the ball and extending his range and just extending his game. He did hit some free throws yesterday, but this type of athleticism, like if he improves his skill set, his bag offensively, this could be a player, like a secret hidden gem in the second round. I said from the first time I watched his tape, man, like, yo, he might be a player, but damn. What do we think about Adam Bona? Could he be that guy? Is he that dude? Maybe he could come in and clean the glass for the Sixers when they're getting horsed in a playoff series. Anyway, Tyrese Maxey had a event, a gallery, a museum. I don't know what it was, but it was very nice what the Sixers did for him. They honored him. They put a huge video on social media. And just, man, it almost pulls the heartstrings a bit seeing this video where he has come already from being drafted to now being an all-star. And my favorite thing he said here was, quote, "Big fella, thanks for coming, man." He's talking about Joel Embiid. "I appreciate it. You were the first person to really believe in me. I keep telling everybody that. Walking onto the plane, telling me to sit there. You brought me a PlayStation that meant the world to me. I hope I'm not going to let you down." And in reverse, Joel Embiid said to Maxey, "You are the best teammate that I've ever had in my entire career." And that was just nice, knowing what Embiid's gone through, the guys he's had to endure and play with. And he just really seems like he has a genuine connection with Tyrese Maxey. So, look, I think their chemistry is only going to continue to develop. Now you bring in Paul George. This big three, this three-headed monster really has a lot of potential. And I can't wait to see what they do. Lastly, Nick Nurse was at the first Summer League game, and he pretty much just talked about, where the team's at, etc., and how he feels right now. And Nick Nurse pretty much said, quote, "Right now we feel like we're much better than a year ago, right? With signing Paul George, and you get the backup for Embiid and Andre Drummond, and you bring in Caleb Martin, you get Kelly Oubre back with the exception, and you get Eric Gordon. Like, the Sixers now have more of a structure. I still think there's a few things to clean up. I still think, again, they need a rebounder. They need a power forward. Maybe this guy, Adam Bona, could step up and, end up being that guy someday. Just a long shot. But overall, the Sixers had a plan this offseason. They had targets, and they went out and locked it in and got it done. And that is why I believe Daryl Morey is a good GM. I've said it for the last several years. Yes, I did get impatient this year, but The first time he wasn't restricted and had flexibility, right? Didn't have the Ben Simmons or the Horford or the Tobias contracts floating right in his face. He goes out and does everything he wants to. So we'll just have to wait and see what comes next. But shout out to the Sixers. Having a great offseason. The vibes are high right now. And the question is, what do they do next? We'll keep you up to date on it all. Like I said, we'll be in NBA Summer League. We'll give you all the content in depth behind the scenes. Be sure to keep supporting me, man. I appreciate everybody. And with that being said, I will catch you all on the next one. Peace.